Evening at the Movies is a proud member of the I Did Not Make These Rankings podcast network. Other shows in the network include Mass Debaters, The Sip List, Crushgasm, Love is Black, Men Are the Prize, Crime Rewind, and Literature Reapers. You can find out all about our shows and more at idnmtrpodcastnetwork.com. Happy listening. You are now entering the world of a movie review. A world full of drama, joy, ridicule, movie spoilers, unpopular opinions, and adult humor for as far as the eye can see. Welcome to An Evening at the Movies.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show with an inaccurate introduction to the show. Now, technically, this is the first episode that we are recording since the I Did Not Make These Rankings podcast network has expanded by 2. So I might have to task my co-host with recreating the magic that is the I Did Not Make These Rankings portion of the intro and adding let's warmly welcome the greatness that is Toontastic Journeys and season to season to the I Did Not Make These Rankings podcast network. Even though technically by the time this releases, that will have happened like a month ago. So, but I digress. If you guys, we'll get to that portion later in the show. But back to the intro. This is the podcast where everybody, well, you guys know the drill. You know, stay out of popcorn, the watered down the sodas, and all the movies that we love and why we love them, unless we're talking about rubber. And then it's all the movies that we hate and why we hate them. But I digress. I won't beat a dead horse. You guys listened to me say that for over 3 years now. Well, probably about 2 years because it was about a year into year 1 when we finally recorded that episode. But I digress. I am excited to have my amazing co-host and co-Horror Squad compadre. Well, one of my 2 Horror Squad compadres here with me.
The better one. No, I'm just kidding. Love you, Chancey. Mean it.
I mean, you making that joke isn't going to freaking upset him because I don't think Chancey has an angry bone in his body.
Well, I mean, he does melt down on occasion. It's quite a sight to see.
Yes. Those are very beautiful. Those are the magic moments that he has had on An Evening at the Movies. I love them, and I really wish that I knew exactly how to fuel those because sometimes I think we're going down that road, and then he just doesn't do it.
It's just a surprise. You never know. I do have angry bones in my body. But, no one likes a mad woman. Sorry, I've been listening to Taylor Swift.
Uh-huh. Yes, I'm not going to walk through the open door that my co-host just opened for me, but definitely welcome back to my awesome co-host.
Thank you.
Queenie.
Glad to be here.
It took a good 3.5 minutes for us to get through to, welcome back, Queenie, but,
yeah.
I digress.
Hey, I quote that song to my husband all the time. Mad Woman's a great song. Every time you say I'm angry, I get more angry. And no one likes a mad woman. You made her like that. What a shame she went mad. Like, I'm mad because of you, fool.
So, isn't
Not
that
always.
how a healthy marriage is supposed to work?
I think so. That just reminded me of Bad Mom's Christmas.
You don't have an angry spouse, then you don't have a happy spouse.
Yeah, when the fighting stops, that's when it's bad. But even Bad Mom's Christmas, when they're at the therapist and she's like, what is wrong with my mom? And she's like, you do all this stuff and you come in to me and say, why is my mom so crazy? And the answer is, you motherfucker, you made your mom crazy. So be nice to your mom because you're the one who fucked her shit up. That's true.
Yeah.
But anyway. I digress.
I got a PhD in that freaking talent, so to each their own with that.
Mm.
I don't need help going down that freaking road. But so
But
yes,
yes,
we are here.
I will
Go
re-record
ahead.
our. Sorry, I'll re-record our network thing when I finally get over my bronchitis.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. We don't need a every week reminder of your sickly, sexy Phoebe voice.
Hey, it's gotten a lot better, but it's more the coughing
Oh,
fits in the middle of me talking, which will probably happen today. So I apologize, but I'll do my best to mute and cover it. But yeah, that's the worst part is like I just get these random coughing fits, and it's usually when I'm talking.
I mean, were you not here for the first summer of an evening at the movies where literally like I bronchitis for the majority of the whole fucking summer?
Yeah.
But I digress.
Hey, I sound
So,
better than I did on our Halloween episode, so I don't know if this will come out before or
oh, the
after.
horror squad episode. I'm like,
Yeah,
Halloween?
the
That's
horror.
not for like freaking 6 months. What are you talking about? And then it
Oh,
dawned on me,
okay.
the horror
Well,
squad episode.
in the
Ah,
future, when you guys hear the horror squad cover Halloween, you will realize that this was filmed back in February when I had the flu and I sound like
a
a
broken ankle.
80-year-old man with a 10 pack a day smoking habit.
Yeah, it really. I highly suggest you go back and find the Friends episode where Phoebe is sick with all the sickness and trying to sing, and she's my sticky
My
shoe.
sticky shoe. Why you
I
gotta
can't
stick
even sing
on
as well
me?
as Lisa Kudrow did in her sickness with that. But
Yeah, it was
so,
great.
um, I believe we have a purpose to be here today. Do we not?
I think so.
Um, Generally, I don't think we record just random talking amongst ourselves and air it for the listeners to enjoy. Although there's times I think we should.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna.
just shoot the
I mean,
shit.
it has been suggested, I believe, in the Mount Sitmore chat that
Yeah,
we put some of our group conversations behind the freaking paywall and make some money off of that shit.
we should. We should do a Patreon, like Papa Palpatine said. We just riff off each other for an hour.
That's the problem, though, is you know good and hell well as I do. If we hit our stride doing something like that, it ain't gonna be an hour
Fair. That's fair.
because I digress. I go back to my first appearance on the SIP list.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the final cut of that show was an hour and a half long. But how long was it before you made all the edits?
Yeah, like 3.5 hours, I think. It
Yes,
was cray cray, is what that was.
yeah, it was, but it was still freaking funny. There was some freaking amazing content that ended up on the freaking cutting room floor too.
Oh yeah, for sure. It happens.
The only reason I know all this information is because literally we were talking to Josh,
Damn it.
the host of Toontastic Journeys, the other night about Friends, and I told him that I highly recommend going back and checking out our Friends episodes of the SIP list that
Yeah,
we had recorded, and I made reference to the fact that yeah, the first one's kind of long,
that's
but
what
then I
she
looked
said.
down and it's like, oh, it's only an hour and 27 minutes long. So evidently, the co-host with the most made the hard cuts and did a good job about doing it. Because
That she did.
so
That's what I
um,
do. I do the hard work.
that's what George said.
She does do most of the heavy lifting. That is true.
Anyway, with all of that said, we are here to discuss a movie. Surprise, surprise. We're going to talk about a movie on an evening at the movies.
No,
Shocker, I know.
you did
And
not sign up for that.
oh, well, then in that that case, I'll just end the episode right now.
Nice talking to
Thank you. Come again. Tune
you.
in next week for another episode of. Wait a minute, that's not the closing. So you did whatever,
You're
but
not
we're
doing
going
it
to talk
right.
about. I believe this is actually no, no, it's not. It's not the first one. I was going to say I think this is the first time that Tom Cruise has debuted on an evening at the movies, but no, it's not.
I
He
do think it's.
was, huh?
Oh, I was just gonna say. I think it's the first time.
You and I have discussed Tom Cruise.
Well, I was thinking it was the first time Aaron Sorkin showed up on the show, but now I'm trying to remember if that's true.
I believe you're right. The first time that Tom Cruise showed up on an evening at the movies was Mother's Day the first
Oh,
year because that was my creative Mother's Day gift to my mom was my brother and I discuss Cocktail,
oh, such a great
and
movie.
that was also Nico's debut on an evening at the movies as well.
Nice. It is not our
So
first Rob Reiner venture, but I thought it was our first Aaron Sorkin movie. But I have to go back and check.
mm, let's see,
We've
we've
done
done
Rob
When Harry
Reiner.
Met Sally, we've done Misery, we've done
Yeah,
obviously we've done Stand by Me more than once.
yeah.
uh,
How do you get 3 years into a movie podcast without talking about some sort of Rob Reiner project? You don't. So
no, because there's still great Rob Reiner movies that he has done that we haven't even scratched the surface on putting on the schedule yet either.
yeah. But anyway,
So, so yeah, I mean, obviously we've danced around it long enough. So I'm hoping that the listeners can handle the truth because
I know
we're going
you
to be
can't.
discussing. I can handle the truth. We'll get into that later. Um, we're going to be discussing A Few Good Men, directed by, well, we'll get into all of that when we get to the background information. But, well, fuck it. Why the hell not? I got Peaches playing in the background. Um, A Few Good Men released on December 11th, 1992. I can't believe this movie is that fucking old.
I can't either.
It makes me feel that much older, and we're not that old. Harvey's that old, but we're not that old.
Ah,
Directed by obviously Rob Reiner. Released by Castle Rock / Columbia Pictures. Had a I hate it when they do this to me. $33 million to $40 million budget. Do we not know 32 years later how much money they spent making a damn movie? Just saying.
no.
Had a box office of $243.2 million, which translates to approximately in today dollars $534.6 million. So
Damn, Gina.
before I get to the Rotten Tomato portion of the guessing game, um, $534 million for a movie. Well, 534 slash 243.2 for a movie with literally no special effects for 70% of the movie. It's all set in one room in one courtroom.
Yeah.
That says a lot. So it's not often you see movies of that simplicity that draw in that kind of freaking box office. I'm not necessarily going to put it all on, you know, at the feet of Tom Cruise because that probably helped a little bit, but at the same time, I won't spit in the faces of everybody else that was in that movie because this movie has an amazingly freaking talented cast. So,
Oh yeah.
um, Rotten Tomato tomato meter so that you don't have to ask if we're talking tomato meter or audience score.
Okay.
Would you like to wager a guess as to what you think the tomato meter score for the movie is?
Huh. Sorry. I'm going to say 84%.
You fucking looked it up, didn't you?
I did not. Am I close?
You're 100% on the freaking nose.
Oh, wow. I was going to say 87, and
84%
then I was
on
like, no, let me go with 84.
84% on 67 reviews.
Wow. I really didn't look it up. I was so proud of myself.
I mean, I think that's the closest anybody has ever guessed. I think you
Well, you
officially
can't
have.
get closer than being exactly right.
Well, exactly. But I was referring to the fact that I think Chansey had the record with. I don't think it was Jessica Biel style. I think it was his last appearance before that, where
Oh,
he guessed and he was only off by like 2 or 3%. It's not very often that people get that close. And why is it that people don't ever know what Rotten Tomatoes does for their scores?
yeah,
Because
I
Rotten
don't know.
Tomatoes is trash. And what do we think of Rotten Tomatoes?
Fuck Rotten Tomatoes.
Bingo. And last but not least, before I turn the microphone over to my awesome co-host, if you have not seen this movie 32 years later, shame on you people.
Yeah.
But it is currently streaming on AMC Plus, or you're just going to have to rip the band-aid off and rent it on Prime or Redbox or Apple or Google or whatever your preferred rental means are online. So,
Mm,
are we ready to let the listeners know what this amazing movie is about?
of course. So, A Few Good Men centers around a couple of lawyers, the main character being Lieutenant Daniel Caffey, Tom Cruise. He is a military lawyer who gets stuck with defending two U.S. Marines charged with killing a fellow Marine at Guantanamo Bay. They choose Caffey because he's known for doing plea bargains, but another lawyer convinces him that they were most likely following orders and therefore wouldn't be found guilty. So Caffey decides, because of Daddy's expectations and a challenge from a hot higher ranking officer, that he needs to take this to court and defend these guys. Um, he calls up the colonel from the Guantanamo Bay base to question him about giving an order for the kid to be, well, code red, but I don't know. Oh, I guess we'll get into it whether or not it's supposed to result in his death. But anyway, trial ensues, and we find out if we can handle the truth of why the military is the way it is. That was
That's
sorry,
that's a pretty good
sloppier than
summation of.
normal of what I do. Yeah, sorry. Whew.
Yeah, but there's still aspect. I mean, to properly do the plot of this movie justice, you have to go a little bit more in depth than the typical 90-second beat the clock challenge.
Yeah,
So, I mean, otherwise, I'm not gonna lie. There's actually stuff that you said in your plot description that if you hadn't said, some of these next discussion questions are not going to make sense at all.
oh, well, there you go.
Because, like I already warned for those of you listening and watching on the YouTubes, yay YouTube, fuck your copyright laws though. Um, that
Piracy is not a
we're
victimless crime, Casey.
we did not pirate anything on the birthday episode. Thank you very much.
That's fair.
We were celebrating me and an evening at the movies.
Yeah, it was a tribute.
But exactly. But like I was saying though, I already warned Amanda we're not going to get to why we like and dislike this movie until we get to the review portion of the show because I actually have some thought-provoking questions about the movie that I think we're going to go with, and some of the stuff that she gave in that plot description
I
will
like it.
help some of these questions make sense. So, um, I don't think I have my questions written down in order though, so I'm kind of sort of perusing to make. I kind of want to go in order as much as I possibly can. Um, but yeah, okay. So basically, like, okay, so like you said, yeah, Dawson, yeah, Private Dawson and Private Downey are on trial for murdering um, Private Santiago.
Yeah.
Um, they're arrested and brought to Washington D.C., where they are um, they have multiple meetings with their counsel, Lieutenant Daniel Caffey, and during this point, it is divulged that they live by a code: unit, core, God, country. So, and the ultimate assumption of that is by following those the belief in those four things over everything, that you are practice or having honor.
hmm
So, in your opinion, what does having honor mean?
Okay. Well, it depends on how you look at it. So, first of all, I got to throw in a quote. You're charged with capital murder, and you want me to go to the jury with unit, core, God, country? That's our
Hmm.
code. Um,
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. There's probably still gonna be all kinds of freaking quotable stuff coming up in this
oh yeah.
episodes because,
So that's why I'm throwing them in where I can, so we don't spend 40 minutes quoting a whole movie.
well, no, no,
Um,
that yeah, I didn't specifically add that portion to my notes because I figured with some of these questions, the quotes were going to come up, and it's like we don't need to go over the stuff and then go over it again in depth
yeah.
when we get to that portion of the show. So, yes, unit, core, God, country.
So I think that people have to understand, and I'm an army brat, so I have an understanding of how that world works versus how the regular world works. And people that don't really know about the military or didn't grow up in that lifestyle, honor means something completely different in the military than it does to just you and me, like a layperson. Because
Mm.
there's a definition of honor, and there's actually a part of the movie that I want to talk about. If you don't bring up a question about it, then I will. So we'll wait and see. But I think that
I have
yeah,
a feeling I know what you're talking about, and if it's what I'm thinking, one, Guma, and two, yes, it will come up.
okay. So yeah, you're going to protect your unit first, then the core. You're going to trust in God, and then you're doing all of that to you
Defend your
know
country.
serve your country, and that's kind of their mindset. And I do think Marines are a special breed of
Crazy.
what's the no I was just say what's the polite word for crazy no
Cuckoo for Cocoa
committed
Puffs.
committed
Okay,
um
so I'm
but
not gonna lie. I want to preface it by saying I know a lot of people who are ex-Marines, so I'm not. I say what I said with all lightheartedness and jokingness.
yeah, we're
You know, I
joking,
wasn't.
it's in jest,
Yeah,
but
please
also
don't take it seriously because that's not how it was intended.
you have to be a very special level of focused and committed to be in the military, and I think especially to be a Marine. um, and they have the military has a great responsibility, and the amount of just shitty things that go on. I mean, it,
Hmm.
it's unfortunately true, but also a lot of the shitty things that go on happen so that we can sleep at night. So honor means something different to everybody. I think when you're in the military, you are devoted to that code. And so that's one of the things that, Harold has such a hard time with in the movie is because until the end when, Kathy tells him you don't have to wear a patch on your arm to have honor. Well, he didn't think so. That uniform and that patch was who he was, and that was how he knew, according to him, he was a good and honorable person. But that's not
Well,
all there is to it. And I'm glad he learned.
no, there's not at all, and we don't. I don't. I've seen this movie 1,001 times, and I don't think we know the official answer to this question. But um, there's no telling how long it's been since Harold went through boot camp and how long he's been stationed in Cuba.
You have to assume it wasn't long. They were very young.
They are, but at the same time, still to go through the preparation and
Yeah.
everything that comes along with boot camp and living that life on base, especially in a place like Cuba.
But yeah, because I don't think
That
you get assigned to Gitmo right away. Like I think that because that's a very very dangerous place, or it was at the time this movie was made. I don't know that
yeah,
Cuba is as much of a threat now, but you know, it also is right
no.
there.
Well, I mean, this is we're also now in a post Castro
Right.
reign.
We should have had my dad on this episode. I should have thought about that. He's a military lifer. He could have offered some good insight on this.
That
Oh
actually
well.
isn't a bad idea. Um,
Next time we do a military movie, I'll ask him.
definitely because like I've commented back and forth on some of the network posts before with your dad, and to me, I think he seems like a pretty decent dude. I wouldn't mind
Yeah,
actually getting to sit down and have a legitimate conversation with him. And it wouldn't be the last member of, well, I mean, it wouldn't be the first member of your family that's been on the show either. But I mean,
that's true.
your husband's
Maybe.
been here, your daughter's been here, your brother's been here.
Yeah.
Anybody else you
Maybe.
want to bring on the show too?
I mean, we can see. But anyway, yeah. And I think he would definitely kind of say, like, reiterate the things that I said about honor versus, being in the military versus just, it's a belief system, just like, cultures or religions that, you dishonor your family if you say or eat or wear certain things. Honor is a belief system that's individual to different people and groups. So it's kind of hard to define. For me, it's just doing the right thing and being a good person, but it's not always that simple either.
True. So, I had a genius idea that just popped into my massive brain that I have.
It was a giant melon.
That evidently doesn't work for trivia very well because I always lose at trivia. But um, I don't think we'll finish this episode. But why couldn't we possibly have you reach out to your dad and have like a secondary episode where he can come on and we can kind of sort of bring up some of the stuff that like we're discussing now with like honor that he can kind of sort of speak to since he has experience and knowledge about how that works in a military type environment.
Yeah, that could be cool.
'Cause I mean, well, it's been
He's
brought up
on vacation
obviously a
now
lot
anyway, but
that
yeah, I'll
well,
ask.
yeah, we still have 3 4 weeks before this episode drops anyway. But um, yeah, we've talked about scheduling before and how pretty much until from now until whenever we're doing 2 episodes a week. So I think that could work really well with dropping this episode. And I don't think I have anything scheduled for that week other than this episode anyway. So that'll fill that buy two get one free
Yeah, maybe I can get
logo.
him to. Maybe I can get him to divulge some national security secrets with the job he has now. That's all I have to say about that. I could tell you, but then I'd have to
I
keep.
don't want an evening at the movies to get canceled. Thank you very much. So, I was actually surprised that I believe you kind of brought this up in your plot description, but the Kevin Bacon issue.
Which issue is that?
Um, well, I saw it came up while I was doing my research, quote unquote, for this episode. But there are people that bring up constantly, like, and this one kind of pissed me off because there's people that actually think that Kevin Bacon was in on the whole thing because he's the prosecuting attorney and he's defending everything that happened.
I
And
never
I don't
got
think
that
they
idea.
fully grasp. No, I'm not saying you didn't. Obviously, there are people out there that do, and I don't think there's people. I think these people obviously don't grasp the concept of how even in a military type environment, um, everybody is entitled to a defense, whether you're Tom Cruise and you're defending, Dawson Downey, or whether you're um, Captain Jack Ross, who is prosecuting and ultimately standing up for the United States of America in the prosecution of said Dawson and Downey. You know, the country has evidence that warrants the further progression of this case. It's his job as a prosecutor to develop a case and present a case to the jury where, um, yeah,
I mean, he doesn't.
for lack of a better term,
It,
he can win.
well, again, he doesn't really have a choice. I mean, you know, he's a member of the JAG. He's a judge advocate, and he even says in the movie something
Mhm.
to the effect, of don't let me in with them because we wear the same uniform. I don't think your clients belong in prison, but I don't get to make that decision. I represent the government without passion or prejudice, and my client has a case. Like that's it. That's all he can
You
say. I
just
mean, that's
Googled
his
that line,
job.
didn't you?
I knew most of it. I had to Google it to get one part right, but yeah, I knew most of it. Because I like that part. I especially was like, don't let me in with those psychos just because we wear the same uniform.
No, and I get, and that's the
Right.
part that frustrates me where people come with this whole, is he in on it? It's like, okay, did you not hear him say in basically the middle of the damn movie that don't fucking lump me in with freaking Kendrick and Jessup just because we wear the same uniform?
Yeah.
I don't think your guys are freaking guilty, but I don't get to make that choice. I represent the United States without pride or prejudice, everything that you just said.
Yeah.
So,
I have never heard that theory. I mean, I think if he had known, he would have
yeah, I
had
hadn't
to.
either until I did this research. That kind of pissed me off.
I love when he's like, now I want you to acknowledge that the judge advocate has made you aware of the potential consequences of accusing a Marine officer of a felony without proper evidence. He's just like, I've been so advised. But he
That's
is
one of
trying to
my
help.
honest.
He's his friend, and he's trying to help him because in reality, I mean, maybe we'll get to this. In reality, I don't know that he would have won this case in real life because I don't know. That's another thing I would actually like to talk to my dad about. But he's right. He's like, if you get court martialed, he's right. That is something that will be stapled to every job application you ever fill out. If you're dishonorably discharged,
For the rest of your life.
that will follow you for the rest of your life. So I really did think he was trying to be his friend there and trying to help him because he's like, you're all caught up in this. It's kind of like he says later, when she's like, he gave the code red. He's like, it doesn't matter what I know or don't know. It only matters what I can prove. And that's true across all levels of law. You can believe or know
And
something all
here's
day
the other
long. If
hitch in
you
that.
can't prove it, it doesn't matter.
And here's the other hitch in that giddy up too. Like the whole thing about I want you to acknowledge that you've been blah 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 blah. He is bound to not be able to falsely accuse or make an accusation against Colonel Jessup because without evidence. Without
Right.
that evidence,
You're done.
I
Like you,
yeah, literally, you have no leg to stand on, and by all rights of law, that moment at the end of the movie that everybody has seen. I don't care if you've seen this movie or not, but
if you haven't,
that moment,
sorry.
yeah, I highly doubt that 98% of the population has not seen the freaking
I think if you're
"you
listening to this
can't handle the truth"
episode,
moment.
yeah, everybody's heard that. But yeah,
But by all rights of law, though, if the judge had done his job by the letter of the law in that scene, that moment probably does not happen. And without that moment happening, I am not sure that the verdict goes down the way it goes down.
oh, absolutely
And we'll
not.
get to that topic
Yeah,
later in the
absolutely not.
discussion. But yeah,
And in the military, you're very,
um,
especially when it comes to disciplinary procedures, you're very much confined by rank. So
mhm.
you can't disrespect someone who outranks you. You definitely can't, like you said, accuse a high-ranking military officer of misconduct unless you have proof. And even when you have proof, a lot of times they'll just make it go away. Like that's just the truth. So
Well, I
it
mean,
was very
it's like the
risky.
whole thing at the beginning of the movie where you have Jessup and Markinson and Kendrick in Jessup's office, and Kiefer Sutherland is being a stubborn little asshole, and um, Markinson looks at him and tells him, watch it, I'm your superior officer, and Jessup basically, heh,
I'm yours,
and
Nathan.
I'm yours, so shut your damn mouth.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
love that part.
rank
The whole part
and
where he's
chain of
like,
command.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I mean, um,
No, I was
but
just
yeah,
gonna
that
say
whole part
rank
where
and
he's
chain of
like,
command is very significant in the military.
very, very, very. It's very a very strict pecking order. So, well, he's like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, we'll transfer him. You know what? Why don't we get rid of everybody? He calls that guy and he's like, call the president. Tell him we're surrendering. We're surrendering our post. He's such an asshole. Oh
Yeah,
my god, he's such an asshole. Okay, anyway.
and then the guy he calls into the office actually he's like, okay, and he goes turn around and start to walk out of there like he's legitimately gonna do it
Yeah,
because that's what he
I
was
mean,
told, and he's like, and Jess literally has to, no, 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 shut up.
maybe I'm being
I
too
mean,
hasty.
yeah, it's like he has to literally tell him I was being sarcastic without telling him 100% I'm being sarcastic. So that's
Yeah,
how much rank and chain of command, when your CO tells you to do something, you fucking do it.
yeah. Or you,
Whether
like
it's
you said,
something
you do it or you
stupid like
find
a
another
code
job.
red or whether it's, yeah, exactly. So, interesting question though to come. How does Caffey's relationship with his dad influence how he performs in the courtroom?
I mean, I think it influences his psyche for sure. I mean, even when he goes to Cuba and Jessup's like, "Oh yeah, I saw a lecture your father gave," or it's something to that effect. I can't remember exactly what it was, but when the highest colonel in the Marines knows who
Your
your
dad
father
ruffled a
was,
bunch of feathers down in your neck of the woods, blah 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 blah.
yeah.
Uh,
Oh yeah, about
the state of Alabama versus blah
It
blah
was
blah blah
about
blah.
integrating schools.
How the
Yeah.
hell's your dad, Danny? He's been dead for 7 years. Oh, well, don't I feel like a fucking asshole?
Yeah. I think when you have that kind of legacy to live up to, and by all accounts, his dad was a good guy, so it's not like he had a, cats in the cradle kind of relationship or whatever. It seemed like he had a good relationship with his dad, but also, again, in the words of Taylor Swift, that's a real fucking legacy to leave. Um, sorry. So I think
Oh
it
no,
definitely affected him. And, even when Joe brings it up, like, were daddy's expectations really that high? Which always makes me wonder, why was he the guy? Why was he the king of plea bargaining? Like, his dad was this fantastic trial lawyer. It's almost like he didn't even want to chance it because he didn't want to not be as
live up
good
to
as
his
his
dad's
dad.
legacy.
Yes, I think it helped him in some
Like he
ways,
knew
but I
he
think it
couldn't live
definitely
up to
held
his
it
dad,
back.
so it's just easy to just cut ties.
Yeah.
And but even like um, Kevin Bacon tells him in at one point, and I think it was about the same time as the whole
When they're in
moment
the
with
bar.
yeah, you got bullied into the courtroom by the memory of a
Hmm.
dead lawyer, referring to his dad. Like
Right.
that that's one of those hidden gem lines. And this movie is so freaking quotable. I will say that a
I know.
thousand times until I'm blue in the
It
face. But
really is.
no, that um. So I actually want to put a pin in that discussion question and save it to see if we can get your dad to come on
Oh,
the
okay.
episode, and I'll give you the question off air, and we can see whether or not you think he'll be willing to answer that question, because it's actually kind of an important topic. But
Okay.
I think we already covered that one. Okay, so if we're putting a pin in that one and saving it, then we've already covered that one. So I've only got one question left, and it pertains to the ultimate conclusion of the movie. Um, is there a victory in the courtroom? And if so, who's the winner and who's the loser?
You know,
Good luck with that one. I know we've had this discussion already.
I have a really hard time with this because, in my opinion, nobody wins. Somebody died. Two kids are going to have to live with that in their conscience for the rest of their lives. But also, as cruel as it is, when Jessup says his death, while tragic, probably saved lives, while I don't think it needed to come to that, I think, like, when he tries to say, well, we were transferring him because he was a substandard Marine. Why didn't you just do that? His pride is what wouldn't let him do that. Jessica was like, no, we're going to whip him into shape. We're going to teach him some lessons. So you do have to have a certain amount of pride and ego. Like, you don't get to that point without learning how to sidestep a few landmines. Okay. So I, I do think that they were following orders. And so I don't think a murder charge was fair. At the very least, involuntary manslaughter. Because yes, they were following orders,
Mm.
but either way, I don't think the intention was for him to die. That's what I got from the movie. Maybe other people have different opinions. I don't think they were sent in there to kill him. They were sent in there to teach him a lesson. I could be wrong. Jessup is evil, so who knows? But I am
Yeah, I
glad
was
that
gonna say I don't think Dawson and Downey had
they
intent
definitely did.
to murder.
Yeah.
Kendrick,
So
it, that line starts to blur with Kendrick, and
I
then
don't think
it gets even
Kendrick would have wanted
more.
to kill him.
I don't think he did that's where it's kind of blurry. I
He's a
think
bastard,
it starts to. Oh, he's a big bastard.
but I think
Um,
he really did believe Santiago could be trained. And unfortunately, some people just aren't cut out for the military. I mean, in my opinion, my brother's a prime example. He's very smart, he can be very strict, all of these things, but he is such a sensitive soul that the military was not the right place for him. And some people don't realize that until they're in the thick of it. And so it's like, some people, yes, can be trained, but some people, that's just not the right place for you. And that's where the higher ups have the responsibility of making the appropriate decision. But also, if you're right across, you know, 500 feet of water from your enemy, you need everybody to be on their game. And if they're not, you got tough decisions to make about that. So it's hard for me to say. I think that Dawson and Downey going to prison would have been a mistake, but I don't know that there were any real winners there.
I would 100% agree with you on that. Um,
Sorry.
so at this point, 45 minutes into this episode, I'm going to trust the fact that one, this movie is 32 years old, so spoiler alert. And two, if you're still listening, you either one don't care or two have seen this movie. So what I'm about to say is not going to surprise you. But on the charge of murder in the first degree, the defendants are found not guilty. On the charge of conspiracy to commit murder, the defendants are found not guilty. On the charge of conduct unbecoming a Marine, the defendants are found guilty as charged. So there is that whole question, like um, Downey in his immature, kind of shocked, hasty. I'm not trying to put him down by any stretch. I'm trying to create the picture of
I mean, he's a
who
simple
this kid
kid.
is that's going through. He's a very, very simple kid, but he doesn't grasp the fact that literally just admitted to ordering the code red and basically taking on full guilt for what happened. Why are we still being found guilty of conduct on becoming a Marine? And he doesn't grasp the concept. But like Dawson tells him after he finishes asking the question, why? What did we do that was so wrong? He's like, we didn't stand up for Willie, Private Santiago. That's what they were supposed to do. They were supposed to have the huevos enough that they should have been able to decipher right from wrong and what a good order and a bad order are.
Except that the whole trial proved they weren't allowed to do that. This is the part of the movie that pisses me off, actually. I completely
Oh, I know.
disagree with that sentiment. It- this is the debater slash criminal justice major in me talking, but I do not see how you can find them not guilty of the murder, not guilty of the conspiracy, but then say they were guilty of conduct unbecoming. Because their conduct is only unbecoming if they did the other two things. Otherwise, they did what the whole trial was set to prove, which was follow orders. Yes, in an idealistic world, they should have been able to stand up for Willie, but that whole trial proved they weren't allowed to do that. I mean, we got the testimony about when Dawson gave the guy on barracks restriction food and he got like a demerit or whatever for it. They're not allowed to make those decisions, and the whole basis of their defense was based on that logic. So that's just my
I
opinion,
think
and I agree
more
with
than
Dawson's
likely
sentiment,
that
but I don't
comes.
see what.
Well, I was just gonna say I think Aaron Sorkin was trying to create a thought-provoking moment.
Yeah, I agree.
Like the whole.
I fully disagreed with that. Not the
So
sentiment,
again,
but you know.
we might need to definitely 100% get your dad on the show and
Yeah.
pose that question as well, because at the end of the day, hi Abby.
Hi. I didn't know I was there. We can hear you. You're stomping around like a what's that thing called? What's that? Like a nothing, I guess.
A wounded bull elephant.
Like a drill sergeant. That's what I was going for.
Well, that and there's literally like no soundproofing in your house,
Yeah,
so
everything echoes in
like you
here.
could be all the way down the freaking hall by the movie theater room and whisper a damn word, and it's going to echo all the way down into the freaking living room. So, so we will
Yeah.
definitely put a pin in that question as well and save that for hopefully being able to sit down with and talk to your dad about that one too. I'm going to asterisk them both onto notes
Okay.
and segue into the so what do you like and dislike about the movie, co-host?
So are we
And well, wait a
saving
second. Wait, before did I cover the question that you wanted to bring up before we transition to the reviews?
no. And so trying to figure out if that's the
Okay, well
one
then
that you wanted
that
to
was the
save
one
or
I
not.
thought you were referring to. But go ahead and bring up what you wanted to bring up then.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna actually I kind of know the whole speech, but not enough to say it. But I'm gonna just read part of it because I want opinions on this. So
As
we've
long as you
got
don't
the whole
play a
big
video clip, then that's all that matters.
yeah. We've got the whole big you can't handle the truth scene, and that's kind of what I want to talk about. So he basically says
Hmm.
we live in a world that has walls, and those walls have to be guarded by men with guns. I have a greater responsibility than you can possibly fathom. You weep for Santiago and curse the Marines. You have that the luxury of the blind, the luxury of not knowing what I know, that Santiago's death, while tragic, probably saves lives. And my existence, while grotesque and incomprehensible to you, saves lives. And he says we use words like honor, code, and loyalty. We use these as a backbone to a life spent defending something. You use them as a punchline. This is the part. I have neither the time nor the inclination to explain myself to a man who rises and sleeps under the blanket of the very freedom I provide and then questions the manner in which I provide it. So that makes as much of a complete asshole as this guy is he right? Because you want me on that wall, you need me on that wall. And it kind of goes back to, when
Yeah,
Joe, he's like, why do you like them so much? And Joe's like, because they stand on a wall and they say nothing's going to hurt you while not on my watch. What was it right that someone was killed? No, but I guess maybe as being someone who grew up, a lot, somewhat around the military, it's like it is a different responsibility. So even though he's a monster, do you think he's right?
so um, that actually was um, one of the ones that I think we kind of sort of had addressed it earlier, and I kind of sort of had passed over. But yeah, so yeah, let's get into it. Is Jessup 100% evil? Is he Satan?
Probably.
Mm, depending upon your perspective, he's not a nice guy by any stretch of the imagination. I don't care how you look at it. He's a
Yeah.
jerk. Again, is he a product of a different era? I think that is a solid position to look at, um, because However, whatever kind of leadership I believe our country is under at a certain time, and I may be totally off base on this, but um, and my naivete is just you know trying to examine every different possible angle, but is the military ran the same way when you have a Republican in the White House or a Democrat in the White House, or is it totally 100% different?
I don't I don't think there's a difference. Funding can be different and other certain things can be different, but the military is the military and the people in charge are the people in charge, and they've been there for a while and have their opinions. I don't that's against that's something I'd like to ask my dad too, but I don't think that that has, as far as the way they perform their duties, I don't think so. Now, where they end up and where we go and where we don't go and how they get there financially, of course, is affected by that. But operational wise, I don't think so. I don't think it matters.
I mean, again, like I said, I have literally zero knowledge on how that works into it. Anyway, I would kind of sort of coming from the perspective that um, how things happen can evolve and change generationally. So
Yeah.
how Jessup was created when he went through boot camp and did his tours of duty and all of that is probably a lot different than how somebody would go through boot camp and do their tours and climb the chain of command today, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's
And
true.
things might be a little bit more harsh then than they are now.
I'm sure.
I mean, not necessarily saying it's right, but at the end of the day, he was running a platoon how he was taught to run a platoon.
Right.
Is he right? No. But like he says in the speech, though, too, at the end of the day, in a way, he's kind of sort of saying that, though. He's like, blah, blah, blah. And I don't remember the whole spiel, but it boils
Yeah.
down to the line about um, questioning the manner in which I provide it.
Right.
It's like, I'm doing what I know how to do and how I know how to do it. And then you're sitting here questioning me on all of this because this is the only way I know how to do it. Damn you!
And he's
But
basically
at the
like,
same
if you
time,
don't like it, pick up a gun and man a post.
yeah, exactly. Again, 100% not condoning running a platoon the way he did it by any stretch of the
Yeah.
imagination. But I think that's also part of the reason why that big question mark comes up in the whole who won in the courtroom and who didn't, and
Yeah.
all of that. Because at the end of the day, say 50, 60 years ago, would Jessup have been found guilty of the crimes that he committed?
That whole thing would have been
Possibly,
swept under the
possibly
rug.
not. Exactly. You know, 32 years ago, would he have been found guilty? Maybe yes, maybe no. Today, would he have been found guilty?
Probably.
I don't know. I
Defending
would
a
hope
nation is dirty
probably.
business.
It's not for the faint-hearted by any stretch of the imagination, and that's where I believe you were coming from when you made the statement, though, about, you know, being in the military is not everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you're not the right type of person, then it should be the higher ups' responsibility to, you know, discover this and properly execute what they need to execute to not have something like this come up.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I don't think Jessup's 100% a villain. He's an asshole, yes, but
Yeah.
at the same time,
But you have to be to get to that level.
I mean,
Someone has to
he
make the tough decisions. I mean,
yeah,
I think that's
no,
what a
and
lot of
there's a
people
reason
don't
why
understand.
he's all. I mean, yeah, and he's basically knocking on the door of being or appointed um, head of
It's something with
Security
Homeland
Council.
Security. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we didn't have Homeland Security all the way back then, but it's basically what it would be today. Would be
Yeah.
basically running Homeland Security. So one of the top ranking militaristic officials in the country.
Yeah.
So you don't get to that
He was on
point
his way to
without.
being a general.
Oh yeah, no, he was definitely, like he said at one point, grotesquely in Cuba. You know, there's the whole, oh, what the hell was the damn line? The until
I'll just have to go on taking cold showers until they elect some gal president.
yeah,
Asshole.
exactly.
Like if you haven't
So
gotten a blowjob from a superior officer, you're missing out on the best things in life. God, that part made me so fucking mad. She's sitting there at a table full of men. He is a colonel, and he is disrespecting her and sexualizing her and minimizing her to her face and does not give a fuck. Oh, that part infuriated me. Okay, sorry.
well, I mean, at the end of the day, and thank you for reading my thoughts and gooming because that's where I was trying to get to, but I couldn't get the line right. But that's the whole point. I mean, he's so high ranking that literally the only person, one of the only people, higher up on the food chain than him is the president of the United States. So, you know,
Yeah.
was there points that you wanted to add to that before we segue into the reviews?
No, I mean, I was just going to say that unfortunately, although he is didn't go about this the right way and the whole thing is unfortunate, he is correct to a certain degree of the things he said. I mean, as civilians, we don't really understand, you know, we love to judge politicians and many if not most politicians are corrupt, but when you get up into the presidency and the cabinet and you get into the higher ranks of the military and people that are deployed, like there are choices that have to be made and those choices aren't always great and there are things that have to be done
Well,
that
easy.
yeah. And for us it's easy to sit back and armchair quarterback those decisions, but we're not the ones in those positions. And you know to a degree what he said in that little rant was 100% right. So
Mhm. No, I mean, at the same time, it's like you were saying, though. I mean, right, wrong, or indifferent, when you're sitting in a position of power like that and you have to make choices, one, they're not easy. Two, you're not going to make everybody freaking happy. You're going to have a portion of
yeah,
the population that's going to hate what you do.
there is
So you have to have thick skin and be able to, for lack of a better term, deflect the bullets because people are going to be pew pew pewing all over you left and right for any
yeah,
decision that you make, whether it's something that say you and I agree with, or whether it's something that I won't name any particular names, but you know, people who disagree with us. believe. So,
Losers. I think they're called losers. Just kidding. Just kidding. Don't cancel me. I'm just kidding.
well, I mean, I had a particular name in mind, but
Yeah.
you know which one. Guma.
Yeah. So there's this quote, and I'm sure it's been said before, but I just remember it from an episode of Grey's Anatomy. And it's before I even ever heard this, I used to always say it. So I know it's probably been said before, but it's the way I try to live my life, and it's the way that I like to hope that our leaders make decisions. I can't remember it is who in the scene with them, but they're kind of talking about, and I think they even were talking about the military or something like that. But they're saying, how do you know when something's the best thing? And Owen says, something like a decision is the best thing when it's the right thing for the most amount of people. And that's not, that's a very simplistic view, but I think that's how, when it comes to like governing and military and stuff, you have to go,
Mm,
not necessarily getting into like certain things, but for the most part, when you make a decision, it was kind of like, it's kind of like with COVID, wearing masks. Okay, it's the best thing for the most people to just do that, and it doesn't hurt you. So I think that's how I try to look at, am I doing the right thing, or is this the right decision? And that's, I feel like if all world leaders would kind of be that way, but the problem is some people have different definitions of that. But you
or
have to
egos.
make decisions when you're governing, that your decision should be something that is going to bring the most amount of goodness to the most amount of people. And unfortunately, it doesn't always work that way.
Minimize the distant.
Yeah.
So,
So, yeah. All right. Review time.
happy times. Um, so, what are your overall likes and dislikes of the movie?
So I really liked the tone. I felt like it definitely had its humor, like moments of humor, which I really liked. I thought Tom Cruise, as much as I don't like him right now, he's very charming and funny in this movie, with his little quips. Um,
He nailed the character.
He did. When she's like, I'm gonna move to submit that you can't properly handle this defense, whatever. He's like, you don't even know me. It usually takes hours for somebody to figure out I'm not capable of giving a proper defense or whatever.
Or when she
Yeah,
references going over his head to his superior, he's like, okay, so go right down Pennsylvania Avenue to the big white building with pillars in front.
yeah.
Seriously?
Uh,
My Bixby just came on and tried to literally tell me how to get from here to 1600
so
Pennsylvania Avenue.
nice. So yeah, Tom Cruise definitely nailed it. I think, all I mean, this is a star-studded cast, obviously, and the tone through the whole movie, the score, it definitely felt very much like an Aaron Sorkin production, especially if you've watched The West Wing, you kind of get that vibe. So I liked the overall tone, the intensity with the, little spots of humor here and there. Um, I love the part when he's questioning Kendrick, and he's like, "Did you report him to the proper authorities?" And he's like, um, "The only authorities I know are the Lord God and Colonel Jessup." And he's like, "If you'd like, I could have the court record to reflect you recognizing this court as a proper authority." Oh, so funny. So anyway, lots of good quotes. Really good story, really intense. I really like the balance of the with Joe and Sam, of Joe defending them and Sam saying, you're making an argument that didn't work for the Nazis and it didn't work, and it's like, they're not Nazis, they're kids that were given an order that they didn't believe would result in harm. So I don't know. I liked all the different, just the way the story was told. It was told really well. The courtroom scenes are great. Chemistry is great. Just overall, fantastic movie. I can't hear you. You're muted. La 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 la.
an hour and 9 minutes into this, and now it finally cuts out.
Hey, it's a
Um,
new record.
I know, right? Except for the times that it actually doesn't happen. But no, like I was saying though, like I said, there's a big fat portion of this movie that literally takes place only in that courtroom.
Yeah.
You have an occasional scene at um, Kathy's apartment, a bar, softball field, you know, the JAG offices, whatever the case may be, but
Gitmo.
probably Gitmo. Um, a solid 75 to 80% of this movie is in that one courtroom. So to be able to do that and captivate an audience for the better part of over 2 hours says a lot about everybody that participated in the creation of this movie, from the all-star cast to Rob Reiner to Aaron Sorkin to, you know, everybody.
Yeah.
Like I said, the movie is so incredibly fucking quotable that I, you and I could probably sit here all day long and just do quote, 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 quote back and forth, and
Oh
probably
yeah.
properly tell the story of the movie from start to finish. So, um, it's a great movie. I highly recommend, and I'm pretty sure my co-host is highly recommending people go see it if they haven't seen it. Um, but we have not yet crossed the final bridge yet that we need to cross before we get to the conclusion. Out of five, what do you rank the movie? And I dare you, I swear to God, if you steal my freaking reference,
You know what? I'm gonna go obscure, and for people who have watched the movie enough, will get this. And if you don't get
I
it,
have a
go back
feeling
and
you
watch
just
the
did.
movie, especially the beginning.
Damn it.
Uh, I hope this isn't yours because I'm trying to be obscure and not
Well,
to
I
be
have a feeling
obvious.
it is because I'm picking and choosing things that it could be from what you just said. I'm just
I'm
gonna shut
gonna
my
give
mouth.
it 5 out of 5 bags of oregano.
You son of a bitch! Like literally, I'm literally taking a picture of my damn notes right now and
Oh,
sending it
that's
to you.
great. I figured you're gonna pick Code Red, so I was like, I'm gonna go with the bags of
Nope.
oregano because that was fucking hilarious.
I gave it 4.8 dime bags of oregano.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome.
And send. So your phone will be going off here in a second for proof.
Okay, that's
But
funny.
I'm gonna freaking rip it back off again and repeat the fact that I'm going 4.8 dime bags of oregano, just because I needed something funny and I didn't think you were gonna go down that road. So yay! Great episode. Obviously, we cannot wrap up an episode of An Evening at the Movies without thanking the dozens who are here each and every week. You guys are incredible. You guys are the reason why our YouTube channel is blowing up the way it is. You guys make recording these episodes
Hello.
that much more. Who are you saying
I'm
hello
sorry. I
to?
gotta pause for just a second. Uh, hold on.
Okay.
Shit. Hold on. Uh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Hop, 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 hop along, hop along.
Okay, well now I'm freaking out. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. So I heard our door thing that dings when the door opens, and Abby just left, and I thought she didn't close the door all the way and that the cat got out, but the door is closed all the way. So now I'm wondering if somebody's in my house. If I disappear, call 911.
It's a ghost. Call 911 in Texas. So,
Well, my dad just messaged me. I messaged him just to see if he was busy, if he wanted to hop in, but he's
Jackapoo!
he's picking up his Corvette at the shop right now. Jack.
And his diamond shoes are two sizes too small.
Exactly. So I'm telling him it's okay. We're
Hi,
gonna do it.
Jackapoo.
Jack, can you say hi? Sometime we're gonna do a second one and ask him to come on. He's like, when now? I'm picking up the vet at the shop. Yeah, go get your Corvette, bro. My dad and my
I
stepmom
wish I had a
about
Corvette.
Corvettes and motorcycles. They go to bike stuff and bike shows and car shows all the time. I've driven one of my dad's Corvettes. He doesn't have it anymore, but it was a sweet ride. Anyway,
I bet it was. So definitely thank you to the listeners for being here each and every week. You guys are fucking
yes.
incredible. Um, do you have anything planned coming up on uh, the great, amazing episode of or podcast called The Sip List?
Abby? Okay, now it's Abby. Yes. So when is this episode dropping?
Mid-April.
Okay. Um,
So I know
well,
there's probably a few things that are in the works.
by the time this comes out, we will have just wrapped up our tribute to all things ladies. We'll be celebrating Women's History Month this month, so we've got we'll have top 5 Britney Spears songs if you want to check that out. We are gonna have. Oh, hold on, I gotta make sure I get this right. Before I say that, I did want to recommend to people, if you love A Few Good Men, um, even if you haven't really watched the show, there is an episode of How I Met Your Mother called The Front Porch, and they basically do a tribute to A Few Good Men with Lily, and it's great. So I recommend
Nice.
that. So I'm gonna have some new guests, the folks from Wine Time with a Gay Guy and Gal, and we are going to be doing, yes, another Swift episode. Don't hate me. We're going to be doing top 5 Taylor songs with the most relatable or heartfelt lyrics. So basically, we're going to do our top 5 songs that really speak to us as individuals as far as the lyrics. So that'll be a good one. We are going to have top 5 female movie villains, and that will have Kasey and Harvandre. And I think our other one's either going to be top 5 women inventors or top 5 female athletes. So go back and check that out. And as for April, I have no idea what's coming up. So go back and listen to the ones you didn't listen to, and I would appreciate the love.
Um, I personally made a recommendation for a potential Kendra birthday episode of the Sip List. So you'll have to stay in tune for that to see if that actually comes up or not. But I'm going to keep pushing for it because I've been asking for it for like 2 years now anyway. But I digress. Um, buckle up, people, because here we go. Just kidding. I'm not going to go too in depth with what's coming up on an evening at the movies, but I do have some stuff in the works. Kendra's birthday episode will be dropping on April 24th. May is going to be superhero month on an evening at the movies, where we'll be discussing Deadpool, Batman, Superman, the Joker being Papa Palpatine's birthday episode at the end of the month as well,
And
and
it's the Walking Phoenix Joker or
all forms of the Joker.
all Jokers. Okay, cool.
Yes,
Ooh, I'll
basically
definitely have to be on that one.
the idea was thrown out there, and Papa Palpatine's response was, "Oh fuck, I guess I'm gonna actually have to watch the Joaquin version now."
Yeah, I haven't seen it either.
So neither have I. So go figure. And then starting in June, we are doing the summer of 1984 on an evening at the movies, and we'll be discussing 40-year-old movies on the show for the summer. Um, if you need examples, Ghostbusters, Gremlins, Purple Rain, Footloose, Karate Kid, um, Horror Squad, recommended episode on Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yes.
So and that's just scratching this. They're those movies right there are just literally like the surface of the greatness that was 1984. So we're gonna have a
84 was
whole lot of stuff.
a year.
84 was probably one of the greatest. I don't care what Dre says. 84 was one of the greatest episodes or greatest years in cinematic history.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying there weren't other years that were almost as great or just as great, but 84 was a great, great year. And there's still other years in the 80s that don't get the credit that they deserve as well.
I
So
think we should do a sip list crossover that month and we can do our top 5 favorite 84 movies. That way we can potentially talk about movies that we don't do on an evening at the movies, or even if we still talk about them again, that's fine. Because there's so many good
I
ones.
don't have a problem with that.
Sweet.
I'm down for crossover. I like doing crossovers on the two because then we can help push our push each other's agenda on all of our
Nice.
listeners. So,
And my
um,
dad just said say when, so we can definitely have him come on for A Few Good Men Part 2, taking a deeper dive
hey,
into the
whenever
military.
you and your dad are ready, I have no life right now. So
Might as well take advantage of that while we can.
exactly, especially considering the fact that I have been requested to submit a background check for a potential job. So I don't know how long that's going to take to come back, but um, we might want to grip it and rip it while we can.
Agreed.
So,
All right.
um, but this was definitely always a lot of fun. I love doing these episodes with everybody, and I love sitting down and BSing with my plobster and my co-host because I mean that's what we do all day long anyway, every day for the better part of the last what 4.5 years.
Has it been
So
that long? Man.
an evening at the
Yeah, it's
movies,
2020.
yeah,
So,
like late spring, early summer of 2020.
so 4 years. Yeah. Nice.
So we're getting old. So yeah. So with all of that said, thank you guys for being here. I'm going to cut my mic and allow my co-host to prove that she knows her lines, and we will see you guys next week. Co-host, the floor is yours.
All right. Thanks everybody for being here, listening, watching on YouTube, and supporting our show. Um, and if you can't handle the truth, then just come back for an evening at the movies. Goodbye.
Peace and hair grease.
Yeah.